Alright, everybody, let's go! Underdog Cup number 3, and we're kicking things off with low APM against Team Space. We're gonna go over what this tournament is and what you can expect over the next few weeks, but let's introduce the teams first. We have on the left here on Battlefield of Eternity, Gumis on Garrosh, Voice on Li Ming for low APM, Hammarine is playing ETC, Mr. X on Anduin, and we got Zaxi on Hanzo. And things are getting pretty wild over on the right side for Team Space. This is not the Murky Cup with bounties, I swear. But we got Amphora for Team Space on Oriel. Quibi is playing Rhaegar. Bishan on Lily. Owlphilia, fantastic name by the way, on Uther. And Echo is playing Stukov. So yes, we have side lane Oriel and 4 healers for Team Space. What I'm talking about, we have 5 healers. So yes, they went all in on the first draft immediately. So what exactly are you watching right now? It is pretty simple. We have the Underdog Cup, and this whole tournament is really designed to shed a little bit of a spotlight onto the amateur scene in Heroes of the Storm. We had previous Underdog Cup tournaments already, and what we're basically doing is we allow teams that play in Heroes Lounge in Division 2 to 5 to participate here. So we're excluding the top division, where you have a lot of the top players, a lot of the pro players participating, and we're trying to give players that are not quite on that level a chance to shine a bit, to get their name out there. They're playing for a little bit of prize money that I put up, and this entire thing is just simply organized to give people some tournament experience, maybe incentivize them to participate in bigger events later on, but also to just experience that particular environment. So the last time was incredible fun. There's obviously all kinds of levels here. We have, in this case, a Division 2 team against a Division 5 team. And that also means that you have a range of skill levels reaching basically from like silver, maybe even a bronze player occasionally, all the way up to master. So when you talk, for example, about Division 2 teams, you will also get the occasional familiar name where a player that participates in top level tournaments plays in this environment with a couple of friends on the amateur side. So lots of fun. Lots of different levels for the teams here, and a big opportunity, obviously, for everybody to just show off their skills. And in addition to that, a lot of the audience might relate to this maybe a little bit more, simply because this is obviously a lot closer to home. Amphora up at the top lane as the Oriel side laner is a little bit lost here, and well, that was to be expected. So the duo is doing extremely well, has already broken the wall down, whereas down at the bottom of the map, the plan of Team Space is, at least for now, not really paying off any dividends. They are trying to take the wall apart, but they are only getting a bit of tower damage done. Whereas low APM, the Division 2 team, is of course trying to take quick control of the game here. But we'll see. We're in Group A, by the way, so we have a lot of teams that signed up for the event, and this is one of the things that I love about the amateur scene. People here are so excited and passionate about every single tournament that we're hosting. It's absolutely incredible. Oftentimes with top level tournaments that we host, where we put 2,000–3,000 euros of prize money up, it takes a long time for the top teams to really form, to get their 5-man together, and then to sign up. Where sometimes we don't even know if we have to change the tournament format, because a few less teams are signing up than we expected, and the format doesn't fit any longer. Here, totally different. We have 16 teams that basically immediately signed up for the event, that are super excited to play here. So we have 2 groups of 8 teams right now that will fight through the group stage, which is a double elimination system, and then move on to the final round. And yeah, it's going to be good. There's going to be all kinds of battles that we have here until we have the best teams crystallizing in the playoffs, where things are, of course, going to get a lot closer. But for now, maybe the first blood right here. No, ETC slides away. 3.5 minutes in, halftime show won by Team Space with their full sustain lineup here. And it's getting wild. Interesting. Oh, they even get the first kill against Hanzo. Interesting touch, by the way. We have... Oh my god. I gotta say that low APM, they came in as the favorites because they are Division 2 team, but they are struggling right now. They are definitely having a few problems here. Now, to be fair, the one thing that I wanted to also highlight, which I think might have played a role in the drafting, is that we have a general rule for the draft in this tournament, and that is that, as usual, you can only play a hero once. So all the heroes that you can see in game number 1 are not playable anymore in the second game. And we have now 6 supports played in this game. If this is ending on map 2, that might not make the biggest difference, but I can already promise you that if we're going to a 3-mapper, this will have an impact. Already we're seeing the attack on the Immortal bearing fruit for Team Space. They're doing well here. Again, the defense attempting to set this up, but yeah, it is the blue team that takes it. I actually think I screwed it up on the name, so yeah, the blue team takes the objective. The kills were locked in by Team Space. The objective was locked in by low PM. Yeah, it's very early, I need another coffee. Some people might also ask why exactly we didn't have a draft here. So if you're a little bit newer to the channel, just one thing to remind you quickly. Every single time that I cast a game live, there will be a draft included. But sometimes in certain tournaments, depending on the format, we have multiple games that run at the same time. When that's the case, what I usually try to do as a bit of an extra service for the people watching on YouTube is that I cast the game I couldn't cover live after the fact from replays. And since replays don't include any draft information, that's when we don't have a draft directly in the game itself. But as we are seeing here, the attack through the bot lane is actually highly successful. So the fort is probably going to fall here. And the problem that they have with all of these supports is that they have a huge amount of sustain, which didn't help Rhaegar. Well, actually did. Rhaegar survives. The problem is the damage output is, of course, a bit lacking, even if you adjust your builds. In this case, we have Oriel with a continued top lane pressure, sitting at 11,000 for the 4-man at the bottom of the map. It's Lili that is currently excelling and going toe-to-toe with Hanzo. I'm not sure if that's the best idea. And that is the end of the Panda. So Lili is the first one that falls. I gotta admit that I like that Team Space is going for something a little bit unorthodox. And what I said earlier, that heroes can only be played once, might have actually played a huge role in their mind. Because they are the underdog. They came in as the Division 5 team against a Division 2 opponent. So there's a pretty big gap between the two teams. And they probably just said, you know what guys, we're gonna go all out with this. We are going to saw chaos now. We're going to take supports. If we can somehow force game number 3, things are going to get wild and crazy, and that is where we have a chance to maybe win the series. But low APM has dealt with it pretty okay so far. They struggled a bit to get kills early on, which is totally understandable considering how many supports we have on the side of the red team. But at the same time, of course, now that level 10 abilities are slowly being unlocked, this is going to change things up very, very quickly. Also, reminder, if you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoy the coverage, please subscribe to the channel and make sure that you hit that like button, especially if you want to see more action like this. Always helps with the algorithm to recommend the video to more people, especially for my Heroes of the Storm fans who have been starting to rejoin a lot of the videos and also start to install and play the game a bit. So if you want to support that, hit that like button and hit the sub button. Down here, hit that ult, ETC! The dance party, baby! And they're looking for the kill. The arrow is missing, but Rhaegar is low, and he's not the only one that is in trouble. They're also starting to make a play for Uther. Rhaegar, all them heals. Uther is down. Rhaegar falls as well. Li Ming is still pushing the top lane against Oriel, by the way, with big success, and is also threatening the top side fort. But the blue team is definitely gaining momentum right now. Not only because of their heroic abilities, but also simply because with that extra damage output and with the pressure on the lanes, they're starting to take structures down. And this is really beginning to screw with Team Space a little bit. Zaxi is already back up on the Immortal and is starting to do his damage here. We're looking at Mosh Pit. We have Wave of Force. We're getting Decimate. And Team Space on the other side has now gone into Water Dragon. No Bloodlust, but Ancestral Healing. A lot of panic buttons, but Uther still with a Divine Storm here. And Stukov, we'll see what he takes as the next fight breaks out. But the halftime show is already lost to low APM. The Aegis is there, but the Lurking Arm, nice. The stun combo is out. Water Dragon is being used. ETC is a bit low. They might be able to get the kill here, and indeed they do. Kill locked in as they are starting to make the play for another one. They're trying to take down Garrosh. And oh boy, did he just have 5 hit points? Did I see that correctly? Crazy. But yeah, he makes it out. So that happened. And now the fight still breaking out over the objective. It is the red team that is trying to fight back and claim the second Immortal. And they're actually doing pretty okay here. It's a 5 versus 5 now, once again on the map, as we have ETC coming back into the game. But they still have a bit of travel time here. The red team, on the other hand, with all the sustain that they currently have, are doing alright. Quest completed for Auriel. Big arrow from Hanzo. Huge arrow. Li Ming looking for resets. Currently don't find any. Bishan on the right side with Lili is still running around and trying to help the team out. But Rhaegar gets wrecked by the Immortal. Walked into the circle and got murdered. Auriel attempting to get the Immortal for the team, but even that backfired. So now we have 4 heroes down. They're trying to go for Uther. A little bit of a suicide run by him to try and get closer to the Immortal and maybe win the objective, but it backfires. It's a 5-man team wipe. The entire team gets murdered and low APM now with massive amounts of momentum, of course. 8 kills to 3, a 1.5 level lead for the blue team. We have Hanzo with 56,000 damage, which is essentially the damage of the top 3 highest damage dealers on the red team combined. Hanzo has as much damage as Lili, Auriel, and Uther combined. So, yeah, they are just crushing it on the damage department, as you would expect. Lots of heals coming for Team Space, but even with all the sustain that they currently hold here, they were not able to break through this. Now, the fort at the top is gonna fall. Can't save this one. This one's definitely gone. And now the push for the top wall. They're going to try and take that one out as well. And obviously in an ideal world, what they're really aiming for is the keep in the game. And we'll see how much damage they can actually do. At this point, Li Ming looking for the angle consistently. Yeah, wall is already gone. Immortal dropping a little bit low. Light bomb engage. ETC gets thrown forward. Hits the mosh pit. Connects 2. And another one gets thrown in. Stukov is gone. And what a slide by ETC. Murderous. They're locking in kills on Rhaegar, Uther, and Stukov. Take the keep down, and now it's a 5 versus 2 on the map. They're sliding through Lili, trying to get another kill, and they drop her. It seems like Amphora is also gonna die, and that is another 5-man team wipe. The blue team on their way to victory as they're marching towards the core, and they take it on Battlefield of Eternity. Low APM is able to win against the 5 healer combo that we're getting from Team Space. Solid performance here by the Division 2 team and a well-deserved victory on the first map of the best of 3 series in the winners bracket. GG. We're going to head in game number 2 in a second. Guys, if you enjoy the content, if you like the coverage here, please subscribe to the channel and like the video. It really helps to spread the videos to people that were interested in Heroes of the Storm in the past and might rejoin the game. So spread the love a little bit, help to promote the games here, like and subscribe, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of the series. Volskaya Foundry is the second map in the best of 3 series. Low APM in the lead against Team Space over on the right. But the blue team starting things off with Muradin, played by Gumis. We got Boyce on Cassia, Zaxi on Nazeebo. We got the Witch Doctor in the house, Hammerine on Sonya, and Mr. X on Brightwing. Over on the right side of the map, Team Space now trying to bring this back. Obviously, we had a lot of healers in the last game, but you can already see that even with 6 healers in total being played in game number 1 and the draft restriction, we have with Brightwing and Lucio still 2 absolute top meta healers here. But I can guarantee you if we're going to a game number 3, this might push the envelope a little bit more. Amphora on Illidan, we got Alphalia on Tyrael, Bishan on Lucio, Echo on Tracer, and Quibi is playing Imperius. I honestly was always a fan of that idea that in a best of 5 series, for example, if you come in as the underdog, that you should just play a 4 or 5, maybe just a 3 healer game and really try to ban out one of the roles just so you can let chaos reign in the later matches and then exploit that. In a best of 3 series, it's a little bit more difficult to make that happen. Team Space definitely having some fun with that 5-man in the first game, but it was not enough to get them a lead or a win. But there is obviously a gap between the teams. But damn, Imperius is getting some really nice connects. The red team is still mega low in hit points, but he went for a couple of kebab plays right there. So 3 stuns twice in a row, full on shish kebab style. But down at the bottom of the map now, we have, yeah, Illidan gone. So Illidan is the first one to fall. He didn't see that coming. For various reasons. So we have got now 1 kill to 0 in a rotation between the mid and the top lane from the red team. Down at the bottom of the map, Trace has taken over for just a second. Toad built, by the way, at least initially, for Nazeebo. Very strong against structures in particular. If you are playing Toad Nazeebo and you find yourself alone on the lane, you can take anything down within seconds. And of course later you get to level 20, you can easily move towards the core and wreak havoc. Level 1, smooth moves. Alright, Lucio channeling his inner player. And already some pressure up at the top side as we have the stacks coming together for Nazeebo. He benefits obviously from this rotation right now and is doing a pretty good job stacking his baseline. On level 4 we're seeing him with a big voodoo, and we have 4 Mirrodin Reverberation as the red team is still trying to defend here as best as they can. Items have also been claimed. Each team has gone for one of their camps on the bottom left and right, but oof, Tracer gets caught and just murdered. No chance there. This might actually give low APM an opportunity to go for the healing beacon, and they're starting to move towards the support camp. So Tracer will be back in a few more seconds, but then has also a lot of travel time. And Illidan, clearly visible at the bottom of the map, so he won't be able to rotate towards the top in time, meaning that low APM gets another item and is therefore prepared for the first objective. The weird thing with the Volskaya Foundry is always that the objective isn't really worth it. There's not that many, in my experience, there's not that many people that really enjoy Volskaya Foundry as a map. Don't know what you guys think about that. Personally, I think it's one of the maps that's definitely... It was never really all that exciting. It doesn't mean that you can't have a cool game on Volskaya Foundry, but very rarely does the objective lead to moments where you're just going, oh my god, this was awesome. It just feels like this whole thing could be reworked and redone. There's other changes in the game that over the years have also played a big role here. One that I always come back to is that the hit points of the fountain are now tied to the forts. So certain ideas and strategies that you would execute earlier with a protector are now not valid any longer. And you see lots of teams ignoring the objective pretty much completely. But at least in this case, we have the battle starting up for the checkpoint. And the turrets get dropped pretty much immediately. But now we have level 7 talents, and that gives a boost to low APM for this fight. The Toad build continues with the Toads of hugeness. They're so huge. And we're getting the life funnel for Sonya. Voice, on the other hand, is in a bit of trouble, and I think this is a kill against Cassia. They try, they block, and they don't have the damage. They are focusing on Mirrodin, but it is Illidan that dies, and oh my god. Even Mirrodin survives with 20-30 hit points as Tyrael drops dead, killed by Brightwing. So, yeah, that was a bit of a rude awakening here. Definitely not fun for the red team. They were chasing those kills and just couldn't get them. Now there's a few more items on the line, and of course also the checkpoint in the middle, where Mirrodin is now starting to get a bit of a lead for the team. But we have Team Space also slowly getting in position on that point to try and make their play there. Sonya's taking advantage of the bot lane. Nobody is really messing with her here, so the entire wall is getting easily destroyed. And, well, that's pretty decent start here. Any structures that you can take down for free is always a huge win, and that's exactly what they did now. We got friend or foe for Illidan. This Team Space is engaging on the checkpoint once more, but the blue team at 71% already against the 12 that we saw earlier from the red team. Once again, the attack against Tracer, and Tracer is gone. Yeah, big problem right now. Illidan isn't here either. They were trying to catch up in experience a bit, but it also means that they are still 1.5 levels behind. So, great job by low APM, the Division 2 team, currently with more minion experience, a lot more mercenary experience, the hero XP that kicked in. They've been doing a great job, and they're also getting the first objective. And now the only question that remains is how much damage can they do with it? Given the fact that they have level 10 on top of this, you would expect a lot. So with 5 kills to 0, they're really bringing it. They're moving through the mid lane now as we get for Sonya, Wrath of the Berserker. We have Gary the Gargantuan instead of the Ravenous Spirit for the Witch Doctor. And they're doing a solid job against that fort. Now, obviously, the defense is here. They couldn't get the entire thing. But we had Nazeebo during all of this still up at the top lane. Sonya at the bottom. Now the fight breaking out, but it's a 3 versus 4. So we have low APM slowly moving back on this one. What I still want to highlight is, though, that we have 96 stacks for Zachzy on the baseline. So he hasn't completed the level 1 talent yet or anything of the sorts, which is a little bit harder for him since he didn't participate in all of the battles. Instead, what we saw him do mostly is focus on his baseline talent and trying to get as many minion stacks as he can. And that one is working extremely well. So if this game goes to level 20, I would be more than a little bit shocked if he didn't fulfill the threshold for Vital Infection. Here comes Judgment and the Hunt. We get the bubble from Lucio with the sound barrier. And there's a lot of CC all of a sudden. Tyrael is missing as the fight breaks out. I was waiting for Judgment on Brightwing there to try and tee this up. But they're going for Lucio. And he dies. They kill attempt on Cassia, but the coordination is just not there. It's not good enough. Low APM reacts perfectly to it and takes the battle to Imperius and Tyrael as they're taking both of them out. Illidan dies a second later, and well, that is not only a quad kill against the red team, but on top of this, they're also destroying the fort in the middle. They have massive amounts of momentum now. Another fort at the top lane has been taken out, and Nazeebo is just going full PvE on them. So a huge lead in game number 2 for low APM, who are obviously starting to close in on a match victory, which would move them along in the winner bracket, and Team Space would drop down into the losers bracket of Group A. Down at the bottom, yeah, Sonya is also trying to push us a bit further. And you can really tell that Team Space is just a bit outclassed here. They're trying their best and they're getting some kills finally. So they're catching Nazeebo off guard at the top lane. And Nazeebo definitely not prepared for that, but that also means that you have most of your heroes at the top, which creates more space at the bottom, and Sonya plus Muradin immediately take advantage of that and are getting more and more damage in on that fort. Should make sure that they're not overstaying here. Here comes Judgment. They might be able to follow that up with a bit more damage and get that kill. Brightwing, though, with the assist. Interrupted by Imperius dropping his ult on them. But, yeah, it still looks a bit too tricky. Sonya has too much survivability at this point if she doesn't get formally stunned out. And so they turn it again onto the red team. Team Space loses Tracer. They lose Illidan. And the Stormbolt connects with Tyrael, who falls a second later. That's 12 kills to 1. Well, make it 12 kills to 2. Sonya is dead, but Nazeebo is still sitting on the side lane. Let's take a look at Nazeebo's damage output. At his numbers. 16,000 hero damage. That's absolutely nothing. He's just pushing lanes all game, all day. That's all that he does. And honestly, that's not a bad move. If you're in a position where you can run these fights with the rest of the team and you can run some 4v4 battles, you don't need Nazeebo here. If he gets into the late game, then you're in a great spot to win the video game. So that's all that they're interested in right now. Get him stacked, get his baseline there, make him a monster, and then in the late game, he can contribute to team fights if they're ever getting there. Now both teams have level 30 in talents, as Team Space has now started to catch up. At least in talents, not in experience, of course. They're still 2.5 levels behind. But Nazeebo is 9.5 minutes into the game at 140 stacks. That is highly respectable. That is actually extremely good for him. So, yeah, if they get to 20, he can work with that very, very easily. On level 13, we have him as usual with Ice Block. Now we get the level 16 talents. As again, Judgment, the follow-up stun. They want Brightwing, and they just can't get the fruit fly, or can they? No! Mr. X jumps out. Illidan wants the kill. Lucio's already dead. And even Illidan has been shut down by Nazeebo and the zombie war. The red team again in full disarray as they're trying to escape. Tracer's rushing away. Illidan is in trouble. Tracer and Illidan both gone. And that is another 4-man kill. 16 kills to 2. Team Space just a bit outmatched in this series in the winner bracket of Group A. And with Tyrael dying, it's another 5-man team wipe as low APM goes through Team Space like hot butter through cheese. The keep in the middle is gone. And I think the only one that probably doesn't want to end the game right now is Nazeebo, because he's sitting there like, guys, I have been doing such an amazing job stacking the baseline. I want my Violent Infection. We can't end before I hit 20, but it certainly looks like it's going to be the finish. This is a 2-0 victory. Low APM moves on to the next round of the winner bracket as Team Space drops down into the losers bracket of Group A. Kicking us off here in Underdog Cup number 3. GG and well played.